What's good, everybody? UFC 317 is upon us this weekend. It all goes down. I'm joined with Ash. I'm JK, and we're going to be running through this weekend's main card, breaking down who has the upper hand in the striking, grappling, power, speed, and cardio for each of the main card fighters. Welcome on in. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, because we're a UFC fan channel where fan opinions matter most. Now, top of the hour, before we get into the main card stuff, probably should shed some light on a bit of recent news about Jon Jones retiring. However, we here on the channel have always known that Tom Aspinall was the heavyweight champion, so it's not really any news, is it? Really?
No, I wouldn't say so. Like, we know Tom was champion. We knew that Jon didn't want to fight Tom, but again, do you think, like, I know I don't want to go too much, dive too much into it, but like, do you think it's gonna have a bit of an effect on Jon Jones's legacy not taking his fight with Jon Jones? Because like, we're all in agreement here that he should have obviously fight the interim champion. That's what the champion should do in unifying the belt, fight the interim champion, and he's obviously not done that. So do you think that will affect his legacy? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, no, I actually think it will. I think there'll always be like some kind of asterisk under his name, because like we all wanted it, the fans all wanted it, and it was teed up nicely. He even teased it after the Stipe Miocic fight. So for him to do that and keep fans clinging on to some kind of hope that this fight was going to happen, I just think is a really bad move on his part. He should have just retired there and then after the Stipe fight and let it be done. Let the division move on.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, like, because he knew stylistically he could probably beat Stipe. That's why I chose Stipe to fight. Don't get me wrong. I know that fight was obviously going to happen beforehand, but come on now, like, to go ahead with the Stipe fight rather than fighting someone that's interim champion. The interim champion's got to fight for the belt, and the champion's got to unify the division by fighting the guy that's the interim champion, right?
Yeah, no, exactly, precisely. And look, I can't say much because from a GSP standpoint, but GSP didn't exactly, keep people on edge about a potential fight with a Robert Whittaker or a Yoel Romero at the time, really. He won the belt and ducked, which is fair enough. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. But like, I suppose he was retired, then come out of retirement. Jon Jones kind of never retired, really, did he? Or did he?
No, that's true. Yeah. So
he kind of just left the door open, like GSP, like a proper retired, if you know what I mean.
No, for sure. Yeah. So, as I said earlier, we're a UFC fan channel where fan opinions matter most. There's some opinions of ours on the whole Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall spin, the news story that's been coming out this past week, but that's not the reason we're here. We're here to break down this weekend's UFC 317 main card. Let's pop up not that one. There we go. The main card, flicking through here. Now, there's been some couple of changes, really, hasn't there? We've had, what was it, Paulo Costa against we used to like say Chesney from Coronation Street.
Yeah, I totally forgot that fight was actually on here.
That fell through. You also had.
I know it was. I know it wasn't on the main card, but is it that Cedric Dumas?
Oh, Cedric Dumas. Yeah,
that's the one. He's pulled out. I know it wasn't on the main card, but that's just a fact that's come off the card.
Yeah, and we've had Joshua Van stepping in at short notice for the injured Manel Karp.
Yes.
Big jump up for him. Exciting opportunity. 100%. Big test, though, against Brandon Royval, which we'll get into in just a sec. I saw, I think, a picture of Karp posted on social media. His foot looks like a balloon. So,
yeah, I did see it.
But I think he's one of the most injury-prone fighters on the roster at the moment, right? I think they've got some record of pullouts. And then talking of pullouts, we've also got Beneil, Dariush, Renato, Moicano, the fight that kind of was rearranged since Moicano stepped up to save the day at UFC 311.
Oh, yes.
Alexandre Pantoja, Kai France, and of course the main event, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, which I am absolutely stoked for. Cannot wait to get into it. So stick around and hit a like on the video if you've not done so already, guys, in the chat.
Yeah, got some interesting points to bring to the table for that main event.
I'm excited to hear it, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear
Yeah.
it. Out of these options, well, we will usually ask for the main card rating. What did you give it? Because I think I gave it like a 7.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've actually rated the card yet. I'd have to go back and do it, but I'm probably gonna give it an 8. I'd say
Still 8. Wow, pretty high going since we've had some.
It is pretty
some
high
moving around,
yeah.
like.
I think it's one fight away from being a 9. I think if you take off the Talbott fight and put it with if Costa was on, I think it would be a solid 8.
Really?
I think it's just an 8. I think you put the Costa fight back on if that fight was to still be there. Probably be a solid 8.
Damn, no way. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, Paulo Costa's fallen off a little bit in my opinion. I'm actually really having done some studying on the Payton Talbott Felipe Lima fight. I'm actually so super stoked for that one. Like, that is going to be.
It is a good fight, though, to be fair.
Fire. My ET Beats is in the house. Says, "Hey guys, hi Ash, my number 1 UFC man." Whoa, look at that! Look at you getting some.
Yes, mate.
Props in the house.
I've been speaking to Matty during the week. Matty's the man. Thank you, Matty.
Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks for stopping on by, Matty. Can't wait to hear your opinions on some of these main card fights. So the way that we do it over here Against the Fence is a little bit of a unique breakdown. Unlike any other breakdown show or betting show, we like to rank who has the upper hand in the striking, grappling, power, speed, and cardio. So it'd be great for you to play along with us, stick around, and help us out a little bit, because some of them could get really, really tough. Yeah. And we're Punching's in the house, who says, as a whole, I give it a 6.5. So he's given it a lot lower than us. Maybe he was really looking forward to seeing Paulo Costa fight again. And of course, Brandon Royval taking on Manuel Carp, I think was a
because that was such a good fight, because Carp's last couple of performances have been superb. So I was stoked for that fight. Don't get me wrong, Van's a good replacement, but yeah, I was so looking forward to Carp fighting.
And Roman Kopylov getting the jump up against Paulo Costa in the middleweight division was pretty solid as well.
That was a Kopylov.
Yeah, that's it. Right, so let's move on then to breaking down then the first fight up on the main card. We'll leave some stats up there for you guys to just ponder on if you've not seen any already. Nothing too much that sticks out here, if I'm honest. The significant strikes massively in favour of Payton Talbott, but that's only purely because he had a lot more fights than Felipe Lima. I think Felipe this will be his 3rd fight, I believe, overall in the UFC. His defense looking pretty solid so far. What's up, Captain Ralph? Who's in the house? Yes, we've got to stop and give this guy a mention, because he is one of our super fans. And he says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Captain Ralph? Hope you're doing well, and hope you're super pumped for these fights."
Hope you are all solid.
Ultimate Punching says, "Main card, I give an 8, but everything included prelims and early prelims at 6.5. That's fair enough. No, that's a fair assessment, I reckon. So let's talk about then Payton Talbott for a second. Then it was a tough pill to swallow after picking up his first pro loss to Ronnie Barcelos in January. There was a lot of hype around him to do big things in this division. Fast forward 5 months, what aspects of his game do you think he's worked on that in that time? Can you see him having a dominant performance which leads to him regaining some of that hype back? What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely did come into to some hype with that Ronnie Barcelos fight, and Ronnie Barcelos definitely put it on him. And I think Payton Talbott, we all know, is a great striker. We can see that. I think it's his grappling attributes that are kind of a bit lackluster, should we say? And when I say grappling, I kind of mean like the wrestling kind of aspect as well. So yeah, he's going to really, really have to be on it to stop the submission game of his opponent, because he's got some good grappling of his own. So yeah, Payton Talbott needs to be on it, and hopefully he's worked on the grappling in training. Yeah,
no, that's right. I mean, Felipe Lima, I'm just looking there now because he's 14-1. He's got only three submission wins on his resume, but in that Miles John fight and the Muhammad Naimov fight, we've seen some excellent changes from him.
Sub Naimov.
Yeah, I like sub.
And we just saw a great performance from Naimov. I know it was a close one, but it was a good performance from Naimov the other week. So to pull off a submission against him is good going.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of a bit of a worrying factor for Payton Talbott heading into this, in my opinion, because we could very well look at a similar kind of fight to the Ronnie Barcelos one. Ronnie Barcelos, of course, a little bit more ahead in age and experience.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. A lot more.
But put on an absolute clinic to say that, look, I'm not really done just yet. I can still hang with some of these young guns. So it was a bit of a shock to the system for Payton Talbott, in my opinion. Yeah. So do you think that Payton Talbott can regain some of his hype with a solid performance?
Well, yeah. I definitely think he can. I definitely think he can. I think he just needs to pull it together. Because I think he kind of come into that fight. He knew he was favourite, a massive favourite, mind you. And I think it kind of got to him a little bit, being a star guy, if you get what I mean. So I think if he could put his striking together, and I think what will give him a little bit of confidence as well is stuffing the first kind of takedown. If he can stuff that first takedown, it's a massive confidence booster. And then for Lima, it's I've not got this guy down. Like, do I continue to wrestle or do I try and strike? If you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, but spot on. And as for Felipe Lima, then he has a very strong submission game, as we said a second ago, to submit Muhammad Naimov in the third round in his UFC debut was very impressive. Now, compared to Ronnie Barcelos, though, do you think Lima has a better chance of catching Talbott on the ground? Because, of course, Ronnie Barcelos just dominated Talbott across the 3 rounds, was unfortunate, didn't get a submission win, but can you see Felipe getting that submission?
Yeah, mate, I think that's a very, very good question because obviously Barcelos took him down. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Barcelos doesn't have the submission game because he does have some good submissions as well. But yeah, I think Lima can actually wrap up a submission in this one. It all depends, obviously, like I said, if Talbott's been working on that grappling, of course. But if Lima can get him down, I didn't really see much offense off his back or any kind of get go from Talbott in his last outing to get back to his feet, if you get what I mean. So I think if Barcelos can hold him down there and look for submissions, then what's Lima going to do to him? I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to the scrambles and how Talbot
exactly that.
Get out of danger and get back to his feet, where he's going to have the better chance in this fight, should we say?
Yeah, that is exactly. I think he's going to have a little bit more urgency because there was no urgency, and it was like obviously. I know it's a completely different division, but obviously it was like when we was watching Usman versus Buckley. Like Buckley looked lost down there on the mat, and it was like Payton Talbott was exactly the same. He just looked lost down there. No kind of striking from the bottom to try and do anything offensively. No trying to get back to his feet, or like I said, there's no urgency from him. So hopefully we can see a different kind of Payton Talbott in obviously this weekend.
Yeah, okay, spot on. Now, before we head into the gauges, then you might want to do a little bit of thinking on the old gauges thing to decide who has the upper hand in this. But before we get there, George Murray's in the house. He says, we have landed back at Casa del Mary. Birmingham was sick, filmed loads of content for new tradesman podcast. He started a podcast, which is cool. He says, yes, JK, yes, Ash, what is good, boys? Long time, no speak. Absolutely.
Welcome in.
The rest of the chat, whom I don't know. Hello, gents. What's good? What's good, George? And I hope you're doing well, of course, and interested to find out what you think of some of these main card fights that we're going through here right now. So heading into the gauge then, let's bring the fighters up. For striking, how do you see this one going? Because Felipe Lima, bit of a volume puncher. Talbott, bit more on the calculated side, will take his time to pick his shots more. He's been compared to O'Malley by some fans, including mostly us.
Yeah.
But where do you see this one going?
Yeah, no, striking is definitely going for Talbott for me. Okay. He does have some great striking. We've not even seen the best of it, to be honest, as well. So that's saying something. If 100% don't think we've seen the best of his striking, and he's got some great striking. So yeah, I've got to give striking to Talbott.
Okay, fair. Now, just having a look here. So Talbott with 7 knockout wins on his resume to Lima's 4. Lima's gone the decision most of the time, 7. So yeah, some would say in terms of getting the job done on the feet, it would be Payton Talbott. Now, as for grappling, however, where do you land with this one?
Yes, it's got to go Lima.
Lima. Okay. Yep. Yep. I can see that. Power.
But ooh, now that one gets a little bit interesting. I wouldn't say that Talbot has the what's the word I'm trying to look for? Like blatant power, if you get what I mean. He's got that sneaky power that he has. So it's a little bit like Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill doesn't like have that bomb power. It's the sneaky power that he has, if you get what I mean. And I think that's the same for Talbot.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'd be
your thoughts on that?
To go with power on Talbot as well.
Yeah.
But I would probably go with speed for Lima.
Yes.
And I'd also be inclined to go with cardio for Lima as well. I don't know what you do, if you can argue that.
Yeah, cardio for Lima as well. Yeah. Because just purely because of the outing that we had with where Talbot kind of wilted under that pressure. But don't get me wrong, I think striking wise, it's probably good to go for 3 rounds. But if it's mixed in with grappling and everything, all sorts of MMA, should we say, all rounds of MMA, I think, yeah, that's when Payton Talbot will struggle, I think.
Yeah. And that Naimov fight, like you said, I think is a bit of a key one. And the Miles Johns one for Felipe Lima as well. He went the distance with him and, well, okay, he didn't go the distance with Naimov. He finished him late in the 3rd round. But the fact he's able to put away Naimov, I think, in the 3rd round says all about his cardio. George Merritt says, met Eddie Hall as well, told him to hit legs more. Wow, okay. He says, Talbot needs another slap for taking the main card opener over RoboCop.
Yeah.
Hermanson RoboCop is on.
I can't remember who's he fighting now. Hermanson. Yeah. No, it's a great fight.
I kind of disagree with that actually. I think that's a good prelim headliner. Yes, RoboCop could very well get it done against Hermanson, but Hermanson's tricky to catch, and it could be one of those fights where Hermanson just circles around the octagon
it could have been like the Jack Hermanson versus who did he beat? Pfeiffer could be one of them. Where he just basically just stops the onslaught of Gregory Rodriguez. You get what I mean, by taking him down and slowing Rodriguez down and wearing on him.
Yeah, I can very well see that.
But then again, it could be that fight with Payton Talbot. Lima could be doing exactly the same to Talbot, where he kind of wears on him, stifles the kind of striking of Talbot, and grows out a decision.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. I can kind of see this one being a bit more fast-paced energy, though. In my opinion. George Murray says...
Never count out Rodriguez, though.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still unsure with that. I've yet to make my pick on that one. George Murray says, Lima, Van, Dariush, Pantoja, Charles. Wow. What a 5 there. I want to hear some more picks from these guys. George Murray says, Dariush needs to take a statement after being kicked completely off the card in January and show he ain't a gatekeeper at 155 pounds. Solid take there for Murray.
Yes.
That's true. That is very, very true. Ultimate Pundit says, are you guys going to tune into UFC BJJ 1 today? Do you know what? It's probably going to be an awkward time.
Is that on Fight Pass?
It's on Fight Pass. It's probably going to be an awkward time for us, if I'm honest. Otherwise, I probably would. But what's funny is that whenever I'm doing tape on Fight Pass, on these main card fights, if I leave Fight Pass just not doing anything and not playing anything, it automatically just shoves the UFC BJJ stuff in my face and starts playing it. And I'm like, this is not what I chose. This is not what I want. I'm trying to do homework on these upcoming pay-per-view fights, so get it out of my face. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of a little bit annoying for me. George Murray says, main event, I'm stuck. My head says ill is because of what's he's got in the hands, but has wrestling BJJ. My heart tells me Charles, because I don't want to see Ilia win and have his plan fail. If Charles don't clip him and get him on the ground, because he's more a leaner 55er than Ilia, and uses his ridiculous BJJ, but Ilia boxing is off the charts, the movement and shot placement. You know what? Yeah, the breakdown we have for that is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to jump on too much to that at the moment, but we'll hold fire for that for now because we won't stop talking about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. We'll get into some more of those chats in a sec. So, overall pick for the night, who are you going for out of Talbott and...
Second round submission, Lima.
Oh, really? You actually...
I'm actually, yeah, I've picked it already. Yeah, second round.
Do you know what? I'm not completely mad at that. Wait, who's actually favourite in this? It is Lima, isn't it? I thought I read something
it's
like
the
that.
It's the first time Talbot's been underdog. Yeah, I know he's only had 3 fights in UFC.
Yeah, I'm quite shocked at that. Of course, recent performances being a massive factor. I'm stuck on the fence with this because I kind of want Talbott to succeed. I am still disappointed in the performance against Ronnie Barcelos, but I think George was saying, this is a horrible.
Look at Barcelos so recent though. You know what I mean? But Barcelos coming off some good wins as of late as well, so he's just shown he's still got it.
Different wave, yeah. What was it that we took the Mickey out of Sai for to do with Ronnie Barcelos?
Oh, yeah, because it was against Rafael and Sunsao.
Yeah, that was it. He was like, but a Sunsao is a Sunsao.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But to be fair, Ronnie Barcelos is doing
things now, bruv. He's doing things.
Doing it now. You know what I mean? Who's he coming off a win off the other week?
Barcelos. I can't remember. Okay, let me.
Who did he beat? I can't remember. He beat someone.
Do you know what? I don't know. My memory is such. I have short memory on UFC fights. It's unreal. He beat Cody Garbrandt decision, isn't it? Oh, that's it.
That's the one.
I didn't see that.
Yes,
fight.
That's the one.
Yeah, Payton Talbott and decision against Cody G.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Beats a rising sign Talbot with hype and beats a former champion. You know what I mean? Go on, Ronnie.
Yeah, no, I mean, part of me is hoping for a Talbot knockout, but if not, I can see Lima either snatching a decision or a submission, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome on in, Abdullah Ashfaq. Good to see you back in the chats, buddy, who was helping us out with the Garbrandt option mate. There. Welcome back, glad that someone's memory in this chat is much better than ours. That's so. It.
Yeah, just doing so much tape on so many fights, you just forget.
For sure, we watch way too much fights, way too many fights. But good to have you in the shouts. And this is what we rely on you guys for: is some good, solid help. So thank you very much.
That's it.
And get some predictions in for this main card opener. But before we do that, get typing away. Let's head on back to talking about the second fight, which will be contested between Brown and Royval. UFC.com's got Brown and Royval versus... Yeah, no, it is, isn't it? No, I think things got changed around. I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Because Royval's ranked highest in his division compared to...
Yeah, I thought that was third fight,
I don't know. We'll see come fight night. They might change it again.
Oh, well, yeah.
We'll look at the grappling statistics and leave the guys there for that. For Royval heading into this, now this is another young prospect for him.
Yes,
his last time out he fought Tatsuro Taira, and Taira gave Royval a tough fight with his ability to kind of transition on the ground, take the back and threaten submissions. Now Royval was able to survive and win most of the rounds with his striking. Now, what challenges do you think Royval will face this time? The number of rounds is a huge difference, of course, with this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true, because obviously that Tatsutara one was 5 rounds, wasn't it? So, yeah, no, Van's got some great striking, so it definitely needs to be wary of the striking, crisp striking, should I say. Always comes forward, and he doesn't just throws 1, 2, 3 combos. He will hit the 4 and 5. So Van's got some elite striking. So yeah, Royval definitely needs to be mindful of that, 100%.
Yeah, no, and I think we'll go on to looking at some striking stats here at the moment. What's kind of crazy is that you can clearly see that the landed per minute favours Joshua Van in this, whereas Royval, I know he's had a few 5-round wars. He's more of a volume striker. Yeah. He's in your face the whole time. He puts you under pressure.
And that's saying something as well, because you're spot on. Like Royval's a volume striker. Like he will get in your face and just keep going. And if Van's got the more strikes, what does that say?
Yeah, no. And what's also kind of weird in this, you got the defense in favor of Van, but also how is his absorb per minute a lot higher? I don't get that. I don't know how. I don't know what the UFC are playing out there because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But as for Joshua Van, after a quick turnaround, would you say momentum is on Van's side heading into this fight? You know, it's a bit of a jump up in competition for him, but big risk equals big reward, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. He's definitely on a wave and definitely on a high. Great performance against Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva.
Oh, mate, that was a joy to watch. We caught that right before
yeah, exactly. It was a great performance. Like I said, punches and punches, great striking. He's definitely riding that wave. Like I said, he just needs to be wary of Royval's grappling. I think that's the only thing he needs to kind of be wary of. Like you said, though, what is definitely in Van's favor, I know he's stepping in a short notice, is the 3 rounds, not the 5 rounds. If it's 5 rounds, then I think my pick would have kind of changed a little bit.
Agreed.
Well, maybe. But I think his takedown defense is good as well. So I think the scramble is going to be key in this. So if Royval tries to go for a takedown and Van stuffs it, it all depends how he stuffs it. Because I think you and Si always have a little giggle and a laugh sometimes, you know, when they do a sprawl and then they wait for too long. And then when they wait for too long, they go around to the back. Royval's one of them guys. If you wait for too long here, circle around to the back, take your back. And by that moment, it's too late. So I think Joshua Van needs to be quick on these takedowns. If he sprawls, he needs to be.
No, I think you're spot on there. You're absolutely spot on. And look, I've just purposely put back the grappling stats there, which indicate an 81% takedown defense for Joshua Van. Yeah. It's going to get tested in this fight. Let's be real here. Royval is going to mix up his offense. He does it very well. You know, he was able to stay quite defensively sound against someone like Pantoja for 5 rounds. Yeah. And he's had that kind of top level experience against the Pantojas, the Brandon Morenos, etc., and he's been able to catch a lot of guys out. Hasn't he got a win against the title challenger? Didn't he sub Kai France? Didn't he? Was it guillotine? Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. We subbed him. Yeah. So that's another feather in his cap, and that's sometimes when you do look at someone's resume, that's when you think, oh, but then obviously watching tape, you can kind of see obviously it play out in the fight. This has happened, that's happened in the fight. He snapped up on that. So that's what I'm on about. Van needs to be on it if he's kind of grappling in any sort of context.
Yeah, I'm going to make a bit of a big claim here, and it's kind of easy to suggest. If Pantoja was to move up in division, do you think Brandon Royval has a huge chance of capturing gold?
Yeah.
Is he the next best man in the division?
I was about to say he's probably the next best because obviously he's coming off Brandon Moreno win, isn't he? Or is he? Tatsutara win and Brandon Moreno is in the mix as well. So yeah, he's got some big wins as well. So he's up there, and it all depends how this Van fight goes because Van's on a bit of a wave, like I said, and this one's an interesting one, a very, very, very interesting one.
Yeah. George says UFC want it to be Van, otherwise Pantoja will have to vacate and move up to 35, as there will be literally no one else unless the UFC re-sign Moicano.
Yeah, because it all depends if they want to do the rematch with, obviously Pantoja's already beaten Royval, so it's going to be a difficult one if Royval does win this, because I think if they were to fight again, I think Pantoja wins all day. Again, doesn't matter how kind of what Royval's worked on. I just think Pantoja's that good. But what I will say is, I think striking wise, I think Van's probably the best striker. That if he was to get there, that Pantoja's probably fought.
Agreed.
If he was to get there.
Yeah. True. I mean, the carp fight would have been interesting. You know, it was definitely a title eliminator.
That's another one that's you got to throw it in there because again, Carp's another one that was doing so good as well.
Yeah, and he fought Pantoja in his UFC debut. So if he were to beat
Yes,
Royval,
yeah.
it would have been a big statement, and he probably would be next in line for Pantoja.
He would have
for a
talked
minute.
his way into it as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly, and maybe it would keep Pantoja in the division a little bit. So, but let's hold the Pantoja stuff for now because we're going to revisit him in just a sec as well. But first, let's get into the gauge then for this fight. Striking wise, at the moment, who are you going to give it to?
this is like I've just bigged up obviously Van's striking, but I'm not saying that Royval's got no striking, but it's tough because I think Joshua Van is just predominantly a boxer. But if anyone's going to mix it in with kicks and everything else, it's going to be Royval. So I don't know whether to just go Royval just because he mixes in more of he has more to his
Yeah,
arsenal than just the boxing side of things than Van. I'm not saying Van's boxing's not great because it's great, but I'm just saying if we're talking mixed martial arts, then we're talking all elements of striking. It's going to be Royval.
yeah. No, you're right. And what's actually fascinating is that. Actually, no, I've read that stat wrong. Um, yeah, no, the landed per minute, and of course, yeah, Van's going to be the one to land much more flash, isn't he? And he's going to be a little bit more calculated with his shots. So
Yeah,
Royval could be a bit of a risk taker if he doesn't use his range properly. Then Van could very well catch him and catch him with power and score big in rounds.
yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like for Royval, he's one of them strikers that he won't worry about overextending or anything like that because he doesn't mind being on the mat.
Yeah,
And I think that's what does Pantoja so good as well, because he just doesn't care. He doesn't mind being on the
yeah,
mat. And it's kind of like Charles Oliveira as well. I know we get to that in a minute, but it's kind of like Charles
yeah.
Oliveira.
They're so good at chaining
They
their
don't mind being
offense
off their back.
together. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
But overall, striking wise, are you going with Royval then? Or are you going with Van?
Yeah, I hopefully I've not just suspected anyone as just a Van fan, but yeah, just only purely because Royval mixes it in a little bit
Okay,
more.
and then grappling, safe to say, pretty obvious. We're going with
Royval,
Royval
yeah.
again there. Power in favour of Van.
Gonna go for Van.
Yeah,
Yeah, gonna go Van for that. Yeah,
for sure. You know, the knockout percentage there is pretty obvious. 50% of his, I think, overall fights or wins there. That's the stat. In the knockout for there. Speed, however. Ooh.
kind of want to go Van on that one, but then
Footwork wise, you've got.
I'm just trying to think of transitions as well because we're not like do I implement transitions as kind of like swinging around to the back as speed
That
or
is, yeah, quite quick. Quickness
or
involved there, yeah.
because like yeah he footwork wise Van has some great footwork. Royval as well kind of switches stances sometimes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll hold that there for a second then. Overall cardio wise.
Yeah.
Where
Gonna go Royval because it's been 5 rounds.
that's fair.
And it was, and to be fair, his last outing against Tatsutara, that was a grappling affair for the whole fight. Well, majority of the fight, and that's cardio taxing in itself. And to continue that as well, and he was fighting out submissions, then getting the offense and going for submissions. So, yeah, we go Royval for cardio. Not saying that Van doesn't have cardio, but just because Royval's been 5 rounds multiple times.
Yeah. What's also kind of interesting, rewatching some of Van's fights. You know, he got TKO'd by Charles Johnson in the 3rd round, didn't he? And that was quick. Yeah. Straight away into the 3rd round, pretty much.
I remember how much of a favourite Van was in that as well. Massive favourite.
Yeah.
And Charles done him in.
No, he did. He did indeed. Let's decide.
Speed, I'm going to go for Van.
Okay. Interesting.
Van
okay, so there we go. We've got 3 in favour for Brandon Royval. It being striking, grappling, and cardio. And then 2 for Van, which will be power and speed. But who do you think gets it done on the night?
Oh, this one I don't think I need to do a little bit more work on, should I say. But I think if this was 5 rounds, I think I'll be going Royval like 4th round submission or something. but because it's 3 rounds, I might even edge a Van decision.
Ooh, a Van decision.
Might if not, then it would
just purely
it'll be a Royval decision.
Surviving any grappling occasions and just kind of having his moments.
Yeah, because I'm just it is a tough one. I'm like a scientist. I keep switching. Just because, like you said, any kind of attempt for a submission, Royval will snap up on it. And yeah, if it gets like a late third round and Van's tired and has a lazy stuff for a takedown, I think Royval is going to be game for this as well. Because like, when was the last time he fought 3 rounds? He's coming off like 2 5-round fights, right? So
yeah, I believe so.
Or is it 3 5-round fights he's coming off? So you think like if you're a fighter and you're consistently trying to pace yourself for 5 rounds, what are you going to do when you're actually going to go for a 3-rounder? So 5 rounds, 5 rounds.
Yeah, no, you're right. 3 in a row.
5 rounds. Yeah, 3 in a row for 5 rounds. When you're not necessarily pacing yourself because he's got a good gas tank anyway. But what are you going to do when you're 3 rounds? You're going to put your foot on the gas a little bit more. So, and he's a volume striker anyway. So
yeah, no, for sure.
When you take all them points into account, you kind of talk yourself into picking Royval.
Yeah, part of me wants to pick Van purely because it's going to spice up the division a little bit more.
It's someone new as well. Exactly that, yeah.
But then also, I wouldn't mind Royval winning if it means that Pantoja can go on to do other things, which I will ask you a little bit later on. So we'll hold that thought for now. But
yeah,
I think I'm most likely going to go with a Brandon Royval decision for me. All right.
Yeah, solid pick.
Cool.
Yep.
Let's then now head back then to discuss. Ooh, wrong ones. I'm pressing buttons all over the gaff. To discuss the Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano fight. It's finally going to happen. You know what? Something just popped up on my feed that said that Beneil Dariush comes in as a small underdog against Moicano in this fight. Yeah. That kind of surprises me a little bit, probably because Moicano did get stopped against Islam Makhachev in that last fight, but it was on short notice. We'll leave some grappling stats there for the guys in the chats. Yeah, because it should be a grappler's dream, really.
Yeah.
But first off, let's talk about Beneil Dariush then. Now, the fight was, like I said, rearranged since Moicano replaced Sarukian at UFC 311. During the breakdown of that event, I asked Red Wolf, who was covering for you at the time, if he thought Dariush had 1 foot out of the door. Do you think he's on the verge of retiring after this fight?
Oh, is that a question to me, or did you ask that to Red Wolf?
That is a question to you. Now, what's your
thoughts? I don't think he does. It's a great question, but I think if he did have 1 foot out the door, I don't think he'd be accepting this fight. I think he might be accepting another fight. I don't think it would be a kind of rearranged fight to accept, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
But then again, he might have a bit of bad blood just because of obviously Moicano stepping up to fight Islam. He might want to get that one back. You just don't know, but yeah. I don't think he does in a way. I don't think. No, I don't. I think he might want to give it one.
I mean, look, he could try and be like, look, if he beats Moicano and goes to the UFC and like, well, I just beat your last title challenger. You know, what sort of thing. Yeah. You know, but there is no leg for that really because.
No, but
Moicano stepped in at short notice and was the only option. So but as for Moicano though, I also asked Red Wolf if he knew who the only person to have submitted Dariush in the octagon was. Now, do you know who it was?
It was Michael Chiesa, wasn't it?
Oh, spot on. Did you purposely?
No. No, I remember it as well.
Okay, yeah, spot on.
I remember that as well.
True. Now, can you also see Moicano doing the same this weekend, though?
What, Moicano subbing Dariush?
Yeah, Dariush subbing Moicano.
I can, honestly. Yeah. I'm actually really confident on Dariush.
What? Are you serious?
I actually am. Like, I joke. I actually joke with Sai a lot about mugging him off, but I'm actually quite confident on Beneil Dariush, you know.
Let's see who has the most submission wins out of the two of them. Because I'm not quite sure. So Dariush has 8 submissions on his resume as a pro in MMA, and Moicano has 10. And
wow,
I'm sure Dariush has had more fights as well, right? I mean, he's been around the game a lot longer, right?
Probably, surely, yeah, surely he's had more fights. But obviously, Moicano had a bit of a stint at featherweight, though, didn't he?
They are very similar, to be fair. They're very similar.
Yeah.
Brother B's in the house. Hi, fellas.
Yes, Brother B.
Brother B. Just recorded my mystery MMA fighter for Saturday.
Yes.
I did see that apparently somebody. So I think you hinted at the weekend that it was a former UFC vet, right? And you also posted a picture with that person wearing PFL gear. So I'm assuming that that person now fights for the PFL. Man, I'm baffled. We can't.
UFC veteran.
George Murray says, "Join my side, Ash." I think he's referring to you picking Dariush on this. Yeah,
I'm actually quite confident as well. I actually might put Rome on him.
Ooh, damn.
Put the house on him.
Brother B says, "Do not doubt Ash's picks, ATF fam." That's true. I mean, you know, I'm higher up in the ATF.
Yeah, you are. That is. I give that.
Just got to rub it in there a little bit. George Murray says, "Blockhead, I have questions, podcast related." Okay, yeah, mate. Brother B is your man as well. George, if you want to help out.
Yes.
Kevin Lee is the George is guessing.
Ooh.
Yeah, no. Get in touch with Brother B. He's the guru, man. He's the man. Yeah, that's all I've got. I think question wise for you on those fights.
Yeah.
Let's get into the gauge then for this. Striking wise, Moicano or Dariush?
I usually go Dariush.
What? Are you gassing?
Yeah.
Bro, what have you been smoking?
What, you think Renato has got better striking?
Yeah, mate. He's Muay Thai sick. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, he's got. Yeah,
I think he's sharp, and
I don't know. I think I've just been bum licking Dariush a bit too much.
Yeah, mate. You inside like swap places today. Oh, man.
No, I think it's quite interesting. It's probably because I've seen. I'm just thinking as well, like obviously the grappling affair that he had with Gamrot. Like Gamrot, obviously came in with a lot of hype against him there, and like Beneil Dariush took him to school, mate. Like, you know what I mean? So,
but he also got knocked out.
And that's what I kind of think was. I think that's what's going to happen in the Moicano fight. You know, Dariush is just going to school him,
and he's also going to put God the furthest, so he should automatically
get
that factor into the gauge.
Yeah, so he gets the God gauge,
the religious part of the gauge. Okay, right. So you're going with Dariush,
but then again, if obviously if you've gone money Moicano, I've gone Dariush. Who is the chat saying? We go with the chat on this one then. If we're even Stevens.
George Murray says Dariush for all, mate. Mate, it's rare that we give fighters all of them, right? But all I'm going to say is, if there was one fighter that we're going to give every single aspect for, it would be Jong-Yong Park, the Iron Turtle, all right? But unfortunately...
mate, exactly
unfortunately, he's not on this card.
Mate, Jong-Yong Park, mate, for the belt. I forgot to put that shorts out as well.
Oh, mate, you had one job. You had one.
I had a massive speech about Jong-Yong Park being the next champ. I love watching that guy fight because he just gets hurt and still just comes forward. And like... I've got to say, I know it's obviously it's not on this card and whatnot, but like for him to get kneed in the face as well, not slightly up kicked in the face and play dead. He got kneed in the face and cut, and still got up and blooming dominated that the next round. Like, come on now,
mate. He's a real G.
The Iron Turtle, mate. You know what I mean, he's such an exciting fighter.
He needs to fight on the UK soil. I'm not joking, mate. We'll be in the crowds doing this. This is. This is like the Iron Turtle's crew need to like do this when he's walking out, like awkward turtle.
I don't even know if I could do that. Oh, I can. Yes.
Yes, mate. The awkward turtle. I would introduce that move to him, and I'd be like, mate, you've got to walk out doing this in your next fight. I want to see it. George Moses JK fight me. I had my kids watching that fight, and they was rooting for the Moroccan as we went there last year, and I was like, nah, there's levels to being called the Iron Turtle. That's spot on. Yeah, that's true. There is some serious levels to be said there. Grappling wise, Dariush then.
This is an interesting one because I think if you're talking wrestling wise, I would actually say Beneil Dariush. But if we're talking like transitions and things like that, I think maybe just slightly Moicano.
Yeah, I mean,
Slightly.
Moicano, I think
They're both
they
slick.
are both sick. I think defensively, Dariush is pretty solid. Moicano is going to be probably a lot quicker on the ground. You should suspect. But the fact that Dariush has only been submitted once and his career is pretty decent. The way he dealt with Gamrot's wrestling. Yeah. So his defense is solid. Yeah, the only way that I can see Moicano catching Dariush with a submission is if he hurts him with his hands first.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I want to give Dariush. I think Dariush is a much higher level black belt than Moicano. So
interesting.
I would give Dariush grappling. So we're going different ways here. But power wise, I probably want to give Moicano power. Yeah.
Slightly.
Speed to Moicano as well. Slightly.
Yeah, speed to Moicano. Yeah.
Now cardio it comes down to because we've got two apiece.
It does. Cardio. It's an interesting one because just trying to think I've ever seen Moicano slow down. If you know what I mean. I don't know. Cardio. Who gets cardio, man? They've both got good cardio.
That's true. George Murray says power and speed, Moicano, after what he did to Benoit Saint-Denis. Got to give him that and cardio. I have to say, Beneil, after the close fight, showed his gas tank is strong. So, wait.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Say again.
Got to give him that and cardio. I have to say, Beneil. So I think, I think he's trying to say that cardio goes to Dariush.
Beneil. Okay.
Let me pick this George. Pick away, mate. Pick away. Are you?
Let me press the button.
Are you going for cardio for Beneil?
Slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly.
I should have looked at the gauge that me and Red Wolf did. Actually, I completely forgot to do that.
That would have been a good comparison to see if it's changed.
That's true.
See if it's changed. That's no, mate. You're spot on with that one. That would have been a good one.
Darn it, dog. Drakkar close.
Because then you could have gone, well, this is how we had it the first time round to now. It's completely changed.
Yeah, it's probably going to take me a while to.
You can have a look.
I'm quite tempted. Yeah. Guys in chat, fire away with any questions that you have for Ash or myself heading into this weekend's fight. I'm going to try and... Okay, so I can declare that Red Wolf and I, when striking for Dariush, grappling for Moicano, power for Moicano, no, power for Dariush.
Yep.
Speed and cardio for Moicano. Now, this is probably mostly Red Wolf's options.
Yeah, I could see. I can see. And he's probably going power wise because obviously Dariush dropped Gamrot. Dariush is obviously he's got that knockout at Gerard Close. I'm just trying to think of kind of last time he kind of flatlined someone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, he's not really had, I think, many knockout wins as of late. Right?
I don't think, yeah. So obviously, me going kind of siding with. I'll tell you what. let's go with George Berry, mate. Let's just put it all on Beneil
Yeah, he's just
Dariush.
kind of cardio for Beneil. So we'll leave it at that then. So we're going with striking, grappling, and cardio for Beneil Dariush, whilst Money Moicano gets power and speed. But who are you going for on the night?
I'm going Beneil Dariush on the night.
Strong decision, or do you think he gets the knockout?
Decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then me inside, we're jumping up and down wherever we've got to do, but whatever venue, we're jumping off the balcony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's a wrap, I'm afraid, for that fight. I'm gonna go with Moicano. I think he gets the stoppage. Probably inside 2.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know which round yet, but he's gonna get it done. Brother B's going Dariush, unanimous decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. All right. Cool. Nice picking, folks. Let's head on now to the co-main event in the flyweight division between Alejandro Pantoja and Kai Kara France. Let's start with talking about Kai Kara France first. Now, the knockout win against Urseg was 10 months ago, and not many fans expected him to be fighting for a belt this year. Some would say he has a puncher's chance, having witnessed Pantoja's dominant reign so far. Naming Pantoja's last 4 opponents, Kai Asakura, Steve Urseg, Brandon Royval, and Brandon Moreno, where would you rank Kai Kara France amongst that list based on power? He doesn't have the most knockouts out of all of them, though. So that's a bit of a caveat to that there. But where would you place him out of those 4?
It would be ahead of Moreno.
Okay.
Yeah, ahead of Kaya Sakura. I just think it'd be ahead of Brandon Royval as well.
Ooh.
And who was the other one?
Steve Urseg and Kai Asakura.
This is the thing. I actually thought Steve Urseg had a bit of power to himself anyway. Yeah. You'd probably be actually ranking probably number 1, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because of the guys he starched. Obviously, he starched Cody Garbrandt. I know, obviously, it's a guy coming down from bantamweight. Obviously, he starched Steve Urseg in his last outing. Who else has he kind of starched as well? Look at his resume. He's definitely got some knockouts. And some good ones as of that.
Yeah, it's I think Kai's got 12.
Oh, he lost out Barzi as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. But then Cody Garbrandt. Oh, that was it. Pontorian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I actually would probably like just above Steve Urseg, you know.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Do you know what's actually quite shocking?
Just on power.
Is Kai Kara France has the second most knockouts out of those. Do you know who the person with the first and the most, knockouts is in that list?
In the UFC or just in general?
In MMA?
Oh, it's got to be Steve Urseg, doesn't it?
It's actually not. It's actually Kai Asakura. He's got 13. Kai Kara France has 12.
I suppose I'm getting confused with this guy. He's quite tall, like big for the division as well, isn't he? I can see why.
Yeah, Brandon Moreno has 5, so he's like one of the lowest. Steve Urseg.
Yeah, you wouldn't really say that Moreno's got really much kind of one punch knockout power, do you? Would you? Kai France has kind of got that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Urseg actually has the least. Brandon Royval has 4. So, yeah, Brandon Moreno's up there with 5. Yeah.
Well,
I know. Shocking stuff, right? I know. I had to throw all that one in there. As for Pantoja, though, he hasn't really got much to prove in this division, as we kind of mentioned earlier. If the cards align and he wins this fight, do you think he calls out Marab straight after?
Ooh, it's an interesting one. I certainly doesn't. I don't think he needs to prove much more than what he's done. He literally has even his rise to the belt. He's kind of taken out everyone. And like we said a minute ago when we was breaking down the Joshua Van fight, it's kind of like just Joshua Van or Manuel Karp that's kind of left. Um, no, as he hasn't fought Manuel Karp, has he? Pantoja, or did he?
Yeah, he fought Karp in Karp's UFC
UFC
debut.
debut, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, so exactly that's what I'm saying. With Pantoja's rise to the belt and even obviously defending a belt, he has 1,000,000% kind of cleaned out the division. And this is where it comes in. Like the question always comes into play, where like, oh, should a fighter move up a division or drop down a division? I think this guy's definitely earned the right to do that, if you get what I mean. But just because of the way he's just been performing, the performances that he's had, um, if I was him, I would, just because there's purely no one else.
Yeah, I'm really kind of excited about the potential of that fight. Purely because
Same, because Pantoja won't care off being off
I
his
know,
back.
and Pantoja has got so much grit. In fact, he's probably got more grit than most of Marab's previous opponents, right? I don't know if he's able
Yeah.
to match Marab in terms of cardio, but his scrambling ability is unreal. Being the smaller
Yeah.
guy as well, he's got
Yeah.
fast hands. I think stylistically, it's an insane matchup.
It is actually a great matchup. Like you said, Morab's obviously going to be shooting for the
Of course.
takedowns. Like, could Pantoja wrap up a submission
Exactly.
just initially off the takedowns initially anyway? But it's even on the mat as well. Like, I definitely think on the mat I'm talking, because Morab's one of them guys that he's kind of hold you. Like we've always had this dynamic where you talk about where we've had, for example, should I say, Islam when he was going to fight Sarukian. Like, actually, no, sorry, I switched out because them two obviously never fought. Charles Oliveira versus Shuriken. Like, obviously, Charles Oliveira is another guy that he wouldn't really mind being off his back. But then we saw the sort of top heavy wrestling from Sarukian, and that's what got him out of the submission threats. So now, do we see if Marab will come in kind of grappling and wrestling heavy? And then I think he would have to take that approach to kind of stuff any submission threats from Pantoja. I think if he's going to leave any openings, you can't do that against Pantoja.
No.
You've got to be tight and heavy and get your position over anything else before you kind of
Yeah.
advance.
I mean, let's face it, like Umar Nurmagomedov was meant to be Marab's toughest test, right?
True.
And we know he's got that Sambo background. He's incredibly strong as well, but he wasn't able to implement that against Marab.
Yeah.
Now, the difference with Pantoja is he's probably going to be coming in there with a bit more cardio than Umar.
Yeah, exactly.
And better at kind of scrambling in those situations.
You know what I mean? Imagine how good he's going to be. Like, he's going to be a little bit more athletic because he's not cutting the weight. He's going to feel so fresh. Like you said, don't get me wrong. We know that Marab's going to put the pace on him. But like you said, scrambling wise, he's great at scrambling. So, mate, like it's such a great fight. It's very interesting. A lot of people may think, Marab's just going to do him in, make like proper discount Pantoja. But please don't discount Pantoja. Like, he is very, 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 very
yeah,
good.
I want to see that super fight for sure. And of course, Marab probably hasn't got, I mean, aside from Corey Sandhagen, of course, too much left in his division either. So
exactly, like they're both done exactly what I just mentioned. Marab going up to the belt, and now kind of what he's doing defending the belt. They've both kind of cleaned out the division. Of course, like I said, there's a couple of anomalies in the division that maybe they haven't fought, but that's because they're on the rise now. If you know what I mean.
No, for sure. Sure. Brother B says Pantoja again by unanimous decision. He also agreed on Kai France over Brandon Royval in terms of power. George Murray says Pantoja by sub, second round, plus his shorts are probably the best in my opinion and got to be top 3 in everyone else's. But he wins this. It's not really a win because he's got no one else in the division to beat.
Yeah,
we'll have to vacate and move up and fight Marab. Like I said earlier, they'll have to re-sign Mohamed Mukayev, and even if he beats Mo, it's still a fresh face for a title fight. Yeah, I mean, I think with Mukayev, I guess they could just re-sign him and give him an immediate title fight.
It all depends, doesn't it? It really does all depends what Mukayev. It all depends. Sorry, what Pantoja does. If he obviously, of course, if he gets the win against Kai France at the weekend, and if he does call out Marab, if he doesn't, then it will all depend on obviously the Joshua Van results. Because if Van beats
Royval, that's it. You're next.
Royval, I think that he's next in line 1,000,000%. So does that fight happen before the Makai fight? You just don't know. Obviously, I think Makai's had 2 victories in 2 different organizations prior to getting cut from the UFC. Yeah. So I don't know. In the meantime, can he get one more victory, or is it 3? I think it might be 2.
Yeah,
but
I can't remember. All right, let's head on to the gauge then for this fight. Then striking, who are you giving it to?
I actually might give it to Pantoja now.
Really?
Yeah, I'm thinking of giving power to Kai France, but striking to Pantoja.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. I probably would go with striking to Kai in this,
and then power to Pantoja.
No, I'd probably stick
or still power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, city kickboxing.
Yeah.
Style that he's got. Yeah, I don't know. He did lose a decision against Albazi.
I'm probably just thinking just off. Obviously, Kai France, he does mix it in, doesn't he? To be fair. Yeah, you're probably right in the end.
Cardio. Sorry, George says striking.
Cardio, we can easily
Pantoja, grappling Pantoja, power Kai, speed Kai, cardio Pantoja. He says.
Yeah, Pantoja for cardio, we can easily put that one in there. Grappling, that's an easy one. We can put that in there straight away to Pantoja. Yeah. Speed though, speed might go to Kai though.
You reckon? Ooh,
slightly.
He's a tough one. Speed.
It is a tough one because I think on the feet Kai's going to be quicker, but like sometimes, like I mentioned in a previous fight on this card, scrambling wise, I think Pantoja is probably one of the best.
Yeah,
probably a little like scrambling to his feet and scrambling to submissions. So if you take that into account, you could slightly go Pantoja.
Yeah, no, that is very true.
But I definitely think Kai's quicker on the feet.
Okay. So if you're going speed-wise for Kai overall, that then lands us with striking, power, and speed in favour for Kai France, and only Pantoja gets grappling and cardio. But how would it go down is the question. Now, we could be all wrong, and this is, of course, all subjective, but this is a fan channel where
everyone's going to obviously exactly. So that was just
wrong,
you took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say everyone's going to have their own opinion. We don't fret against that. We don't have a little dig. You know what I mean? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And like me and JK just had, we just had a bit of a difference in opinion, but we love it over here. Like if you've got a reason to back it up, let us know.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let us know in the comment section or in the chats if we're completely wrong with this assessment. But it would be good to hear yours, of course. First and foremost. So yeah, what are you going with on the night though?
I've gone for third round submission Pantoja.
Yeah, I like that option as well. Given the fact that Kai has been submitted before, and left himself vulnerable in the grappling areas, does give me an inkling that Pantoja gets it done, and he should really get it done. I think on the ground, submitting Kai Asakura was very good. People being able to avoid it.
I think he makes it. I think if Pantoja gets him down, he makes it look so easy. To be honest, I don't think I've seen much of Kai off of his back.
Maybe
anyway, but like, I just mean I don't think I think he's going to be another one that's going to kind of be lost down there. If you know what I mean.
George says you're wrong. I'm right. Swap it now. Good stuff.
You know what I mean, striking, like a little bit of striking and power can only get you so far. You know what I mean?
I like the third round submission option as well. To be fair, I think that'd be my likely option, either second or third for me. All right, let's zero that out and let's head on now back to talk about the main event now between Ilia Topuria against Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Who's fairly familiar.
I might go blonde again this weekend. No, joking, I won't.
He's familiar to the title fights, is do Bronx, and of course Ilia Topuria is coming off of back-to-back wins against two of the
Two
greatest
of the
of all time
probably
at
best
featherweights, you
featherweights.
know,
Yeah.
in Alex Volkanovski and Max
Ilia
Holloway.
Topuria could probably have one of the best resumes on planet Earth if he was to beat Oliveira, then fight Islam, and then knock out
Well, that's
Islam.
it. I
Could you
mean, look,
imagine?
like, you know,
Woo!
he currently has this aura about him since knocking out two of those the best featherweights
Yeah,
of all time. If he knocks out Oliveira, where does his resume rank in terms of like best ever? I mean, is it a little bit
yeah.
too soon to say that? Some people might get a bit
Mm.
give me a bit of pushback on this, or do you think that fans will argue that Oliveira is past his best and Topuria's resume won't get the credit
Yeah.
it deserves?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be on the fence with this one. Like you said, it's a great resume anyway. And I think we had this discussion for Fighter of the Year, and it was kind of like a lot. I think we were kind of siding with Alex Pereira because he had 3 fights in the year and 3 knockouts in that year. But then you kind of look at Ilia Topuria with 2 knockouts. Yes, it was only 2 knockouts, but it was against Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Obviously, Max Holloway never been knocked out, and then you've got Volkanovski, that's like you said, two of the best featherweights that we've had, and he's just knocked him out back to back. So if he goes on to finish Oliveira, it's still a great resume. And a lot of people may think, oh, it's like there's probably better resumes out there, but it's still a great resume. You can't shy away from the fact that he's knocked out 3 former
Yeah,
champions. You know
no,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
So
Yeah, and a dominant one at lightweight at a particular period.
exactly
I
that as
mean, you
well.
could
Yeah.
argue that Volk was on his way out and we'd already seen the best of Volk. For Max Holloway, he was coming
Yeah.
off of one of his probably biggest wins of his career
Yeah.
against Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
So you don't really have an argument for the Holloway one.
Yeah.
Okay, you could say Max Holloway filled himself out for lightweight, then cut all that weight back down again, which probably has a lot of weight to it. There is probably a factor there
Yeah.
heading
Yeah.
into that fight. But look, let's call a spade, and the reality is Topuria has done what he has done.
Yeah.
But as for Charles Oliveira now, he absolutely dominated Chandler for 5 rounds, but failed to finish him this time. Do you think he's past his prime? Which kind of feeds into, you know, the topic we were just talking about there with Topuria,
no, exactly.
beating guys who had passed their prime, because he made the Sarukian fight competitive to Oliveira. Let's not forget that, and some felt that he won that fight as well. Even if you think he is past his prime, do you think he's still capable of capturing gold? Because that's possible. You know, we've seen Glover Teixeira capture gold at light heavyweight. I know it's a completely different division, but he was past his prime, and you could make an argument that he beat a Jan Blachowicz who was in his prime because he was the champion and defeated Izzy and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
Do you think that Oliveira is past his prime,
It's
and do you think he can capture gold even if he is?
I personally don't think he is past his prime. Like, obviously, I think Chandler did have his moments in that fight, but it was later on in the rounds. It wasn't early. I think Charles Oliveira was having his way with Chandler, and it was only just because of Chandler's grit and determination in that fight that he managed to obviously get back to the feet and land the bombs that he does. But if the roles are reversed, we've not really kind of seen Ilia in the later rounds, have we? So obviously, don't get me wrong, he's moving up a weight class. So obviously that weight cut's not going to deplete him as it might have at featherweight. So he could be fresh going 5 rounds. And obviously the comparison I was going to say, I see a lot of things flying around on social media to do with obviously the Jai Herbert fight. And obviously people say, because obviously he tired in that Jai Herbert fight. But obviously, let's be honest, that was a short notice fight for Ilia Topuria. So obviously you got to give credit where credit's due. Yes, he got cracked, come back and still done what he done to Jai Herbert. But I just see a lot of comparisons saying that he's going to tire in the Charles fight. But come on, he's had a full camp. And like JK mentioned a minute ago, he's got that aura about him now as well. And like how confident JK was coming into obviously the Max Holloway fight, saying that he's going to knock him out as well. And you kind of feel the belief when the amount how confident he was saying it. And it's Max Holloway though, we don't get knocked out. But then you like how confident you were in that, you kind of tend to sort of believe it. And just watching him fight as well, like he's just got that something about him as well. It's like when Conor McGregor first came on the scene. He's got that something about him, and you can't say anything about what he's done. So
Yeah.
it's an
No,
interesting one.
I mean,
But I don't think Charles Oliveira is past his prime. Though, no.
no, I don't think he is either. I thought he absolutely schooled Chandler for those 5 rounds. I know
Yeah, exactly.
Chandler had his
And
moments in the fifth, but he absolutely
exactly.
schooled him. And here's the thing: heading into this fight is, I prior to doing tape, I felt that Topuria was going to go in there and finish Oliveira with inside two. No, he could very well get that. However, if we see the Charles Oliveira that beat Michael Chandler in the way that he was able to use a lot of his kicks, attack the body with his teep, etc., attack the inside low kick, he gives Topuria a problem. And also, not to add in there, is that yes, he got the knockout win against Max Holloway, and he had his moment in that towards the latter end of that third round, but Max was actually piecing up Topuria in rounds towards, I would say
he was
doing really well, and a lot better than what I think people give credit for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because he was landing on Topuria multiple times towards the.
And people shy away from that because of obviously.
Yeah, exactly. You forget about the overall performance because of how dominant.
And this is what I like. This is what I think as well, because I think I truly believe, and I hold my hand on my heart for this one. I truly believe. I think if Max would have survived that round, I think Max could have won a decision in there, just purely because the Ilia Topuria kind of went for broke that round, and he was throwing so much that round. So
he was,
he did. Really would have loved to have seen the end of that round just to see what kind of played out, and if Ilia was still landing the volume that he would have, because we all know Max is a volume striker, and he could have done exactly what he done to Jose Aldo to Ilia Topuria and just made Ilia burn himself out, throw these big shots early, take some of the big shots, and then 3, 4, and 5, you get the Max that we've seen for years.
He was, and you're right. I think Topuria found his groove at the right moment, and Max was making him miss. Let's not forget, and he was just pot shotting Topuria the whole time, and his game plan was to draw him late into the round. Because Topuria went, I think, what was it, 4 rounds with Josh Emmett, but let's be real here, that fight not on the same level of pace, right? Because both guys are power punchers. If anything, Topuria is going to be the one to bring the more output in that one.
That fight was like such a slow pace. I think you're spot on. And a lot of people, and that's what a lot of people have said on social media as well. Gone, Josh Emmett went 4 rounds with Topuria, and only Max went 2. I'm like, totally different pace. You know what I mean? I think you're spot on for saying that. Yeah.
No, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's this fight. Since doing tape, I'm so much more excited for this fight. I have literally no idea how it can go. I think Oliveira has a chance to, if he takes Topuria into deep waters and makes it competitive for 5 rounds, I can see him edging some rounds in this.
Yeah, well, we've not really seen obviously, don't get me wrong. I know Ilia Topuria has got some great throws from the hip up against the cage and great wrestling. Don't get me wrong. We've all seen that. But have we seen? I don't think we've seen Ilia off of his back. No. So we just don't know, do you? I think you're spot on with the Charles Oliveira kind of attacks with the teep kicks down the middle and just the pressure he puts on you. But I think Charles Oliveira needs to keep this at distance with them teep kicks, not lunge in like he has done in the past. I think he definitely needs to keep this fight at distance.
I think what's because
if it's in the pocket.
Agreed. I think what's key here is the movement and not allowing Topuria to back him up against the cage. If he gets towards the cage, Topuria is going to land that shot, you know it. But if Oliveira can circle out and remain on the front foot the whole time, then he's going to be a problem for Topuria, and he's going to try and drain that gas tank of his. I'm just looking here with the grappling stats, 92% takedown defense for Ilia Topuria. Now, what was key in the Chandler fight for Oliveira is Oliveira was shooting for takedowns against Chandler and succeeding. So, he's shown us a bit more takedown offense, whereas before Oliveira would be a little bit more... he would wait for you to initiate takedown first before attacking any kind of grappling. So for him to initiate takedowns more, I think seeing from previous fights, he was more trip orientated as well. But now we're seeing him shoot more. I think that's a bit of a big factor heading into this one. takedown accuracy more in favour for Topuria. Topuria could very well
Yeah,
mix it up himself if he's daring enough to be on the ground with with Oliveira. If he can kind of stay defensive the whole time and just kind of rough him up a little bit, similar to what Sarukian did, and don't get swept on the ground and don't leave your neck or arms in vulnerable positions.
He definitely needs to take Ilia needs to take a heavy wrestling approach if he wants to take him down. And I mean, put the pressure on, like I said about the Arman Sarukian fight. You just need to be proper strength wise with it, because you look at some guys that were going for takedowns against these submission specialists like Charles Oliveira. They're not powerful, if you get what I mean. Like we've said before with the Islam versus Charles. Everyone was raving about Oliveira was going to get Islam in a submission, but it's just the pressure of these wrestlers that sometimes discourage the submission game of these grapplers.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like one person who's got some good wrestling who didn't really do particularly well against Charles Oliveira was Kevin Lee. I felt that Kevin Lee performance of Charles Oliveira was top notch that night. I'm just saying, I think it was one of my favorite performances from him. And that's purely because Kevin Lee had him on his back in numerous occasions, and Charles Oliveira would just sweep him at ease, get back to his feet just like that. But let's head on to talk about the gauge then before time runs out. Then striking wise, to kick things off, who are you going for?
Striking wise,
tough one, right?
It is a tough one because don't get me wrong, Ilia Topuria, he's got great boxing, but again, we're not just talking about boxing. This is mixed martial arts. There's all types of striking, and I think Charles Oliveira may edge it.
Oh, you're going with Charles Oliveira for striking overall, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Grappling, however,
Charles Oliveira.
Du Bronx, power. So if you say. Ilia
Topuria.
Speed.
Ilia as well.
Speed factor. Recent featherweight, etc. Cardio. It's
interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think Ilia's gone 5, has he?
I don't think he's gone the full 5.
No. And just mainly on experience of going 5, I kind of want to edge it to Charles. This is mad. I think Ilia's only got 1, right? And that's power.
Yeah.
That's speed.
He actually went to decision with Emmett. Why did I think he got the finish in that fight? I mean, it was close to being finished. He was absolutely stud, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, but like you said, the pace in that fight was quite slow, methodical, should we say?
Okay, yeah, I'd be inclined for a Charles Oliveira cardio edge then.
I mean, Joe Pyfer is the featherweight.
That comparison, man, that gets me. So we've gone with striking, grappling, and cardio in favor of Charles Oliveira, power and speed in favor of Ilia Topuria.
Yeah.
However,
it's kind of what we gave. You look at the comparison probably between Ilia and Max. I think Max definitely would have got the striking. I think Max. Oh no, so we might have probably given the grappling to Ilia. Maybe I'm not sure. But then obviously power would have definitely gone to Ilia. Speed though. Oh, what would he have done for speed though? Probably might have edged it to Ilia. But yeah, obviously all Ilia needed in his last couple of fights is just that power. So
yeah. All right. So
don't ask me the question who I'm picking because I actually don't know. I really don't know because this fight, like I think you've said in the last couple of fights with Ilia, it all depends on the first 2 rounds. I think if Ilia can get Charles Oliveira out there in the first 2 rounds, obviously get him out there before the second round, and obviously Ilia's fight. I think if Charles can hang in there, then he could potentially get a submission later on. But
yeah,
it's such a tough fight, man.
There will be a further breakdown during our live watch along this weekend, so you guys make sure you've got the notifications bell rang on our channel to tune in live when we're watching the fights. As we like to say, don't watch alone, watch along, because I've got some more detailed stuff to go through with you guys, including comparing the striking defense between Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway, which I think will be quite key for Ilia Topuria to exploit heading into this fight. But at the moment, I might stick with my pick of Ilia Topuria knockout
Ilia,
inside 2 rounds. If he's able to get Oliveira towards the cage, I think he's going to land heavy, target the body, and put Oliveira away.
If there's anything I can pinpoint putting a pick on, it would be second round KO Topuria. Just because we've seen Charles not kind of be defensively sound because he doesn't really mind being taken down. Obviously, we've even seen Islam kind of land some good shots against Charles on the feet. Obviously, we saw the Chandler fight and he has his hands down in that fight. Charles Oliveira, that is. So if he has his hands down against Ilia Topuria,
it's going to be night for sure. John Murray says Ilia buys Instagram followers. Apparently, I did actually see that.
He has what?
He bought Instagram followers. Apparently, people believe that he bought 1 million followers to make his numbers go ahead of Charles Oliveira's. I don't know how true that is, but eagle-eyed people have noticed that, and that's what's going on the Twitter waves at the moment. So, well, that's a wrap there. We're going with Ilia Topuria knockout for that one. Let's head on back then to the main screen there to preview this weekend's main card. Thanks for those who have joined us on this breakdown show. Yes. Your input has been much appreciated as always. But do make sure, like I said a second ago, that the notifications bell is rang on our channel because we'll be live this weekend for another watch along, as well as putting out some fair few clips from this live show. So make sure that you do us all a favour, hit the like button because it's absolutely free. And any last words before we wrap up, Ash?
No, nothing for me. Just make sure you do tune in because obviously it's going to be a great main card. And of course, thank you for all tuning in. You've had some great points, and we're going to be in a new location for the watch along. So definitely stay tuned for that.
New location and a sponsor apparently on board as well. So
yes, exactly. Yes, so
we're moving up in the world over here at ATF HQ. So of course, you guys' input is always much appreciated. The Two Toes for continually sponsoring our watch alongs as well. So every little helps and it goes a long, long way. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. We'll see you this weekend. Take care on the next one.